Have you ever noticed how, right when you're about to take a financial leap in your life, people start disappearing? It's not a coincidence, it's not bad luck, and it's definitely not because you did something wrong. The universe has a very specific pattern. Before it delivers real abundance to you, it removes everything and everyone who cannot exist at the frequency of your new reality. And I know that hurts. I know you look around and wonder why. Just when you most need support, everyone seems to have turned their backs. But what if I told you this isn't abandonment? It's divine protection. What if I told you that every person who left your life was strategically removed to make space for something infinitely greater? Florence Scovel Shinn taught something revolutionary that most people never understand. The universe doesn't operate by sentiment. It operates by energetic resonance. Let me ask you something. How many times in your life have you held tightly onto something that was already over? A relationship, a friendship, a job, simply because you were afraid of the emptiness. And how many times did that attachment stop you from receiving something better? The truth no one tells you is that the void is not the end, it's the portal. It is the sacred space where real manifestation happens. But you cannot walk through that portal carrying old baggage. You cannot access a new frequency while still vibrating in the old one. So the universe does the heavy lifting for you. It removes, it clears, it empties your life so that you finally have space, mental, emotional, energetic space, to receive the abundance you've been declaring, visualizing, and manifesting. And listen, I understand the pain. I know what it feels like to look at your phone and realize nobody calls anymore. I know what it's like to watch your social circle shrink while everyone else seems to be living their best lives. I know how it feels to be invisible, forgotten, abandoned right when you need connection the most. But here's the twist. You don't need them right now. You need yourself. You need this silence to hear your own voice. You need this isolation to strengthen your faith. You need this empty space to reprogram your mind and fully align with the vibration of wealth. Because the prosperity that's coming isn't for the old version of you. It's for the reborn version. And that version only emerges when you stop depending on external validation and start operating from your own internal power. Sarah was 58 when everything fell apart. Her 30-year marriage ended, her daughter moved to another state, and her best friend from college simply stopped returning her calls. She felt abandoned, as if the universe had conspired against her. But Sarah didn't know she was about to discover something that would completely transform her life. That emptiness wasn't punishment, it was preparation. What she believed was loss was actually energetic cleansing. And what was coming next would be so abundant that her old vibration could never have sustained it. In the following months, Sarah began studying the law of attraction and the teachings of Florence Scovel Shinn. She realized that the loneliness she felt was actually the silence her mind needed to reprogram itself. Her energy was being recalibrated to a new level of consciousness. While she cried alone at home, her faith was strengthening in a way she had never experienced before. She began to see that she was being shaped for something greater, and that the people who left simply no longer fit the frequency she was about to reach. Her sense of abandonment turned into a deep feeling of renewal. 6 months later, Sarah received a partnership proposal for a business she had always dreamed of owning. She met a group of women who vibrated at the same spiritual frequency she did. Her daughter came back into her life, but now with a much more genuine and mature connection. And most surprising of all, her financial prosperity tripled in less than a year. But Sarah knew that none of this would have happened if she had remained attached to her old ties. The universe needed to empty her life in order to fill it with something far more powerful. What seemed like the end was, in truth, the beginning of the most beautiful manifestation she had ever lived. She told me something I never forgot. I was so busy trying to hold on to what was leaving that I didn't realize my hands needed to be free to receive the new. That sentence sums up everything you are about to learn. The removal of people before your financial expansion is not a coincidence. It's divine design. It's the universe lifting weight off your shoulders so you can rise higher. And once you understand this, your perspective on loss changes completely. You stop resisting and start trusting. And that's when the magic happens. Today, Sarah lives a reality she created through mental reprogramming and vibrational alignment. She didn't just attract material wealth. She became the magnetic version of herself. And it all began the moment she stopped fighting the removal process and began honoring it as part of her destiny. What you're about to learn is exactly how this process works, why it's necessary, and how you can cooperate with it to accelerate your own transformation. Because what's coming into your life is greater than anything you've ever lived. But first, you need to understand why some doors had to close. Have you ever noticed how before something big happens in your life, everything seems to collapse? It's no coincidence. It's spiritual physics. When you're about to rise into a new level of abundance, Your vibration starts to shift even before you see any concrete results. And do you know what happens when your frequency changes? Everything around you that is not aligned with this new energy naturally begins to disconnect. It's as if the universe were adjusting the radio stations in your life, and some people simply fall out of signal. Think of your energy as a magnet. When you vibrate in scarcity, fear, or emotional dependence, you attract situations and people that reflect exactly that. But the moment your consciousness begins to awaken to true prosperity, the kind that comes from within, not from outside, your magnetic field changes. And here comes the part no one tells you. Not everyone can keep up with that shift. Not because they're bad people, but because they're still vibrating in the old frequency. And the universe, in its infinite wisdom, doesn't force anyone to evolve with you. It simply rearranges the board. I remember one of my clients, Linda, who was manifesting the opening of her own business. She was doing everything right, visualizing, affirming, working on her faith every day. But at the same time, she noticed that her friends of many years were beginning to disappear. Calls weren't returned. Invitations stopped coming. She panicked, thinking she was doing something wrong. But I explained, "Linda, you're not losing anyone. You're being released." Those friendships were built on complaint, comparison, and a vibration of lack. And the new version of her, the prosperous entrepreneur, simply didn't fit in that circle anymore. 6 months later, she was surrounded by mentors, partners, and visionary women. The universe had only cleared space. The truth is that before wealth arrives, your mind must believe you are worthy of it. And that belief cannot grow in environments where you are constantly pulled down, questioned, or ridiculed. That's why the universe removes everything that interferes with the construction of your new identity. Can it be painful? Yes, but it is divine protection, because if those people remained, they would drain the energy you need to sustain the next level. Not out of malice. They simply wouldn't be able to resonate with who you are becoming. Trying to maintain those connections would be like trying to carry dead weight while climbing a mountain. So if you're going through that moment right now, where it feels like everyone is leaving your life at once, take a deep breath. Your vibration has already changed. You are no longer who you were. And what comes next will require a version of you that is more centered, stronger, more aware of your own power. But in order to get there, you need to understand something crucial. This distancing is not rejection, it's recalibration. And when you stop resisting and start trusting the process, something much greater begins to move in your direction. Because now comes the part that will make you see all of this with new eyes. The universe isn't cruel, it's precise. When it removes people from your life, it's not to punish you, it's to protect you. There is a spiritual law that many people ignore. Every level of consciousness has its own frequency, and not everyone can enter certain frequencies. It's like trying to tune in to an FM station with a device that only picks up AM. No matter how hard you try, the connection just doesn't happen. And when you're about to step into a new level of abundance, your energy becomes incompatible with those who are still vibrating in lack, drama, or negativity. It's not judgment, it's energetic physics. Think of it this way. You're building a new house. This house is made of prosperity, faith, conscious manifestation, and inner peace. Now imagine trying to build it while carrying old, cracked bricks covered in mold. These bricks represent relationships based on competition, jealousy disguised as friendship, or people who only come to you to complain about life. You might try to fit them into your new construction, but they will weaken the entire structure. The universe knows this, so before you build your new reality, it removes the materials that no longer serve you. It may look like loss, but it's actually divine curation. It's ensuring that only what is solid, truthful, and elevated enters your new life. I've seen this happen in my own life too. When I began working seriously with mental reprogramming and studying Florence Scovel Shinn's teachings, I noticed that certain friendships began dissolving on their own. There was no fight, no conflict, just a quiet drifting apart. And at first, I won't lie, it hurt. I asked myself, is it me? Am I changing too much? And then I realized, yes, I was changing. And that change was necessary. Those people were wonderful for the old version of me, the version who complained, played the victim, lived on autopilot. But the new version, the one who consciously chose to create abundance, needed a different circle. One filled with people who talked about possibilities, not problems. And here's the secret almost nobody tells you. You don't need to feel guilty about this. You don't need to force interactions that no longer make sense just because it's always been that way. The universe is constantly reorganizing your life to reflect who you're becoming, not who you were. And if you insist on maintaining old bonds out of obligation, fear, or guilt, you are literally blocking the flow of your own expansion. Because these people, even without meaning to, will question your decision, doubt your dreams, and pull your vibration back to where they are. And you can't afford to go backwards now. Not when you're so close to your breakthrough. So when someone leaves your life during this period of transformation, instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" ask, "What is this happening for?" The answer will always be to create space. Mental, emotional, energetic space. Because what's coming needs plenty of room, and it needs you fully available to receive it. But there's something even deeper behind all of this. Something that will completely change the way you see these losses. Florence Scovel Shinn taught something revolutionary. Nothing is ever truly lost in the universe, only replaced. She called this the law of substitution, and when you fully understand it, your life transforms. Every person who leaves, every door that closes, every opportunity that seems to slip through your fingers isn't disappearing into the void. It's being exchanged for something of a higher frequency, something far more aligned with your path to prosperity. The universe never takes anything from you without placing something better in its place. But here's the trick. You must release the old so the new can enter. And most people cling so tightly to what's gone that they completely block what's trying to arrive. Let me give you a practical example. Imagine you have a closet stuffed with old, worn-out clothes that no longer fit you. Then you go to the mall and buy beautiful new pieces that reflect exactly who you want to become. But when you get home, you don't clear the closet. You try to squeeze the new clothes in wherever they fit without removing anything. What happens? The new clothes get wrinkled, hidden, with no room to shine. That's exactly what happens when you cling to old people, situations, and energies while trying to manifest a new life. The universe may send the blessing, but you have nowhere to put them. So it waits. It waits for you to make space. I knew a woman named Diane who spent years in a job that drained all her energy. She prayed, affirmed, and begged the universe for change. But at the same time, she was terrified of leaving the security of a fixed salary. Then one day, without warning, she was fired. She panicked, thinking it was the end of the world. But 3 weeks later, she received an offer to work independently, earning twice as much with total freedom. She told me, "I never would have accepted this offer if I were still in that old job. I would have let fear decide for me." The universe had to force the substitution because she couldn't do it herself. And it wasn't punishment, it was mercy. It was destiny working in her favor, not against her. The law of substitution works at every level of your life. That friend who abandoned you, she's being replaced by someone who will truly support you. That relationship that ended, it's making space for a love that will honor your essence. That social circle that no longer understands you, it's being exchanged for a tribe that speaks your spiritual language. But you must cooperate. You must release, give thanks for what was, and trust that what's coming is infinitely better. Because the belief that I lost something irreplaceable is exactly what blocks substitution from happening. Your mind must stay open, your faith active, and your vibration must say, "I am ready for the new." And you know what's most beautiful? When you finally understand and accept this law, you stop suffering over departures. You start seeing each goodbye as a sign that something greater is on its way. You relax, take a deep breath, and say, "Okay, universe, I trust you. If this left, it's because something better is coming." And that's where the magic happens. Because now you're not resisting, you're flowing. And when you flow, manifestation accelerates. But there is still something holding you back, and we need to talk about it now. There is something invisible stopping your abundance from arriving, and you probably don't even realize it. Emotional attachments, those energetic chains that bind you to old stories, to people who have already left your life, to versions of yourself that no longer exist. You may say you've moved on, that you're moving forward, but your energy is still stuck back there. And while part of you is trying to manifest prosperity, another part is glued to resentment, nostalgia, guilt, or old wounds. This creates an energetic short circuit. It's like trying to drive with the handbrake on. You may move, but never at the speed you could. And the universe cannot deliver the new while you're gripping the old. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. Every time you obsessively think about someone who hurt you, every time you mentally replay a painful situation, every time you ask, "Why did this happen to me?" you are sending your vital energy into the past. And manifestation doesn't work in the past. It works in the now. So while your mind is busy reopening old wounds, your vibration is tuned to the frequency of pain, not prosperity. And then you wonder why things aren't changing. Simple. Your consciousness hasn't changed stations. You're watching reruns of a show that's already ended instead of being present for the new episode being filmed right now. Think about it. How many times a day do you catch yourself thinking about someone who is no longer part of your life? How many imaginary conversations do you have with people who are gone? How many times do you relive arguments, betrayals, abandonment? Every time you do this, you're feeding that energetic link. And here's the twist. It doesn't matter whether the emotion is anger or longing. Both bind you just the same. What keeps the bond alive is not the type of emotion, but its intensity. And while you feed it, your energy is not available to create the new. It's all tied up keeping the past alive. And the past doesn't pay dividends, darling. It only consumes. The distancing of people before your wealth arrives is not only physical, it's energetic. The universe is freeing you from those invisible chains, but it can only do its part if you do yours. And your part is simple. You must cut the cords. You must stop mentally feeding those connections. You must forgive, not for the other person, but for yourself. Because every minute you spend rehashing the past is a minute you steal from your future. And forgiveness doesn't mean saying it's all okay. It means saying, I will not carry this anymore. It means reclaiming your energy, cleansing your field, and redirecting everything to what really matters, building the life you want to live. And listen, I know it's not easy. I know there are deep wounds, betrayals that still hurt, losses that still bleed, but you have to choose. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be abundant? Because the two cannot occupy the same mental space. One replaces the other. And if you truly want prosperity to flow, you must empty the cup. You must release what is stagnant so the fresh can enter. And when you do that, when you truly let go, something powerful happens. But before we get there is a very specific moment you must go through, and that's what we're going to talk about next. The loneliness you're feeling right now isn't abandonment, it's recalibration. I know it feels empty, it feels wrong, it feels even unfair. You look around and notice your phone doesn't ring the way it used to. The invitations stopped coming, and you're spending more time alone than you ever have in your life. And your first reaction is to think you did something wrong, that you're being punished, that the universe forgot about you. But the truth is the exact opposite. The universe hasn't forgotten you. It's preparing you. This silence is sacred. It's in this silence that your mind finally has space to realign, to process, to reprogram itself without the constant interference of outside voices pulling you back into your old vibration. Think of silence as a spiritual reset. Have you ever tried to hear your intuition in the middle of a loud crowd? Impossible, right? Exactly. The same happens when your life is filled with people who speak louder than your inner voice. They have opinions about everything. What you should do, how you should act, what is or isn't realistic. And even when they mean well, they're projecting their own fears and limitations onto you. So the universe creates this empty space, not to isolate you, but to return you to yourself, so you can finally hear what your soul has been trying to say. Because the abundance that's coming cannot be built on someone else's beliefs. It has to come from your own consciousness, your own faith, your own connection to the divine. I've gone through this too. There was a time in my life when I was completely alone. No one called, no one reached out, and I felt invisible. But it was exactly during that period that I dove deep into spiritual teachings, began truly meditating, and completely reprogrammed my mind for abundance. And you know what happened? When people started showing up again, because they always do, but they're different people, I was no longer the same. My energy was solid, my faith unshakable, and my manifestation was on a level I had never reached before. That silence didn't weaken me, it strengthened me. It gave me clarity, it gave me power, it gave me back to myself. And more than that, it's in the silence that you learn to sustain wealth. Because true prosperity isn't just receiving money, it's having the mental and emotional structure to keep it, multiply it, and not lose it through self-sabotage. And that structure is only built when you're alone with yourself, facing your shadows, cleansing your limiting beliefs, strengthening your vibration. If you skip that phase, if you try to fill the emptiness with distractions, shallow relationships, or external noise, you will sabotage everything that's about to arrive, because you won't be ready to hold it. So take a deep breath and honor this moment. It isn't punishment, it's training. It's the universe preparing you to carry the weight of the crown you're about to receive. So if you're in that moment right now, alone, in silence, wondering when things will change, know that they already are. On the inside, your mind is reorganizing itself, your energy is strengthening, and your destiny is being rewritten. But you need to trust the process. You need to stop seeing loneliness as something negative and start seeing it as the portal it truly is. Because on the other side of this silence, there's a version of you that is powerful, magnetic, and ready to receive everything that has always been yours by divine right. But before you get there, there's a test. A crucial moment when everything will seem to fall apart. And that's what we need to talk about now. There's a moment in the manifestation process that no one warns you about. The moment when everything seems to fall apart completely. You did everything right. You visualized, affirmed, worked on your faith, released what needed to be released. And then out of nowhere, it feels like the universe turned its back on you. Bills show up, opportunities disappear, people distance themselves even more, and you start questioning everything. Am I doing something wrong? Does this even work? Am I the only person in the world this doesn't work for? But let me tell you a secret. This chaos isn't the end, it's the test. This is the moment when the universe watches to see whether you truly trust or if your faith was only surface level. Think with me. Anyone can believe when things are going well, when there are clear signs, when everything is falling into place. But what about when nothing makes sense? When all the evidence says you're failing? That's when true faith is tested. Because real faith isn't based on proof. It's based on inner conviction. It's the ability to keep walking even when you can't see the path, to keep manifesting even when the physical reality hasn't changed yet. And this is the turning point. This is where most people quit. Literally 3 steps from the finish line. They look around, see the chaos and say, "Oh, it's not working." And then they return to their old vibration. And then it truly doesn't work. Not because the law failed, but because they stopped applying it. Let me tell you something personal. There was a moment in my life when I was intensely working on manifesting financial abundance. I was doing everything: decrees, visualizations, daily mental reprogramming. And then everything began to go wrong at the same time. I lost clients, had unexpected expenses, and my bank account was in the red. I remember staring at the ceiling thinking, "Seriously, universe? This is how you reward me?" But then I stopped, took a deep breath, and understood. This was the test. The universe was asking, do you really believe, or were you just pretending? And I chose to believe. I kept affirming abundance every day, even when it felt ridiculous. And 3 weeks later, everything changed. I received an offer that tripled my income. But if I had given up during that chaotic moment, none of it would have happened. Here's the truth behind this test. Real wealth, the kind that transforms your life forever, only comes to those who have the emotional structure to handle it. And emotional structure is built exactly in these pressure moments. When you choose trust despite fear. When you continue declaring prosperity even in lack. When you act as if you've already received, even when the world around you tells you the opposite. This is not delusion. It's conscious creation. It's you training your mind to vibrate in abundance, regardless of external circumstances. And once you master that, you become unstoppable. Because manifestation will no longer depend on what's happening outside. It will flow from within, from your energetic field, from your unshakable consciousness. So if you're in that moment right now, when nothing makes sense, when everything seems to be getting worse before it gets better, don't give up. This is the most important moment of the entire process. This is where you prove to yourself that your faith is real. This is where you separate casual desire from powerful intention. Keep affirming, keep visualizing, keep acting like the version of you who already has everything you want. Because on the other side of this test, there's a version of your life you can't even imagine yet. But before you get there, a final cleansing has to happen, and it's deeper than you think. Here's the truth no one wants to hear, but you need to understand. Before the blessing arrives, the purge comes first. And when I say purge, I don't just mean people leaving your life. I mean everything. Thought patterns you've carried for decades, destructive habits you don't realize you have, beliefs about money you inherited from your family, self-sabotaging behaviors so deeply rooted they feel like part of your personality. All of this must be cleared before real prosperity can settle in. Because the abundance that's coming isn't just a bigger paycheck. It's a complete reality shift. And this new reality cannot coexist with your old baggage. So the universe does the cleaning. And yes, it hurts, but it's necessary. Think of it this way. You don't renovate a house without removing the debris first, right? You don't build new walls on top of a rotten foundation. The same happens with your spiritual and financial life. If you have beliefs like, money is hard to get, rich people are selfish, or I don't deserve more than the basics, those beliefs will sabotage any manifestation you attempt. They're like cracks in the foundation. So before giving you the mansion, the universe needs to demolish the shack. And that demolition includes separating you from people who reinforce those limiting beliefs. It includes removing you from environments that keep you small. It includes destroying the old identity you built based on scarcity, fear, and realism, which was actually just conformity disguised as maturity. I had a friend, Carol, who was working intensely on manifesting wealth. She was excited, motivated, doing everything right. But then the purge began. First, she lost her job. Then, her boyfriend broke up with her out of nowhere. Then she discovered she had terrible financial habits she urgently needed to fix. She called me crying and said, "I asked for abundance and got chaos. What did I do wrong?" And I told her, "You didn't do anything wrong. The universe is showing you everything that needs to be cleaned before the blessing arrives. This is a gift, not a punishment." 6 months later, Carol was in a much better job, in a healthy relationship with someone who supported her dreams, and with a completely transformed relationship with money. But none of that would have happened if she hadn't gone through the purge first. And here's the hardest part of the purge. It messes with your identity, because many times, you don't realize you built your entire personality around lack. You got used to being the friend who's always broke, the one who never has luck, the one who works hard but never prospers. And unconsciously, you defend that identity. You tell stories that reinforce it, you make decisions that confirm it, and when prosperity tries to enter, you push it away because it doesn't match who you think you are. So the purge isn't just about removing external things, it's about killing old versions of yourself. And yes, that's scary, but it's also liberating. Because on the other side of this, you discover who you really are when you're no longer defined by lack. So if your life is shaking right now, if it feels like everything is falling apart at the same time, take a deep breath and understand, you're being cleansed. Not because you did something wrong, but because you're about to receive something so big that your old structure wouldn't be able to hold it. The universe is making you stronger, more conscious, more aligned. It's removing what is weak to reveal what is powerful. And when this cleansing is over, you'll look back and be grateful for every person who left, every door that closed, every illusion that was destroyed, because all of it was standing in the way of who you were born to become. Now comes the part that turns all this into real power. The solitude you're living right now is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of your leadership. I know it feels like the opposite. You look around and see everyone connected, in groups, surrounded by people, while you're here, alone, wondering what's wrong with you. But let me tell you something that will shift your entire perspective. Every great leader, every visionary, every person who truly transformed their life went through a period of isolation before reaching real influence. Because true leadership, the kind that comes from within, that is magnetic, that naturally attracts prosperity, only develops in silence. It's in isolation that you stop following the crowd and start hearing your own voice. And it's that voice that will guide you to wealth. Think about it. Have you noticed how most people live on autopilot? They do what everyone does, think what everyone thinks, believe what everyone believes, and then they wonder why they have the same results as everyone else. Average, limited, frustrating. But when you're isolated, you don't have that crutch anymore. You can't copy what others are doing. You are forced to go inward, to question everything, to build your own convictions. And that's where true power is born. Because now you're no longer operating from inherited beliefs. You're operating from your own consciousness. And that is the difference between those who follow and those who lead. Between those who ask for permission and those who carve their own path. I remember reading about Florence Scovel Shinn and how she developed her teachings. She wasn't surrounded by crowds telling her what to do. She was alone, studying, meditating, testing spiritual laws in her own life. And it was precisely this period of introspection that turned her into one of the greatest spiritual teachers of the 20th century. If she had stayed trapped in social circles that didn't understand what she was doing, if she had allowed other people's opinions to derail her, none of it would have happened. Her isolation was the laboratory where she forged her wisdom. And the same thing is happening to you right now. You're being prepared for something far bigger than simply having more money. You're being prepared to influence, to inspire, to lead. And here's the secret. True wealth isn't just about what you have. It's about who you become. And you cannot become that person while you're constantly molding yourself to others' expectations. You need this time alone to discover yourself, to strengthen your faith, to build an inner foundation so solid that nothing external can shake you. Because when abundance arrives, and it will arrive, you'll be in the spotlight. People will look for you, ask how you did it, seek your advice. And if you haven't gone through this period of inner strengthening, you'll get lost in the noise. But if you use this isolation in the right way, you'll emerge from it as a force of nature, centered, unshakable, magnetic. So stop seeing this moment as punishment and start seeing it as preparation. You're being trained to carry a crown. And coronations don't happen in the middle of crowds. They happen after you've proven you can stand on your own. The universe is testing you. Can you sustain yourself without external validation? Can you believe in yourself when no one is watching? If the answer is yes, you're ready. And when you emerge from this isolation, you'll come out different. Stronger, clearer, more powerful. But there's one last secret that seals all of this, and that's what we're talking about next. Here's the paradox that will change everything for you. The more you detach, the more powerful you become. It sounds contradictory, I know. We grow up hearing that we need to fight, cling, hold on tightly. But the spiritual truth is the exact opposite. When you finally let go, when you stop chasing people, situations, outcomes, you release a magnetic energy so strong that things start coming to you. Because detachment is not giving up. It's not indifference. Detachment is vibrational mastery. It's you telling the universe, I know who I am, I know what I deserve, and I refuse to beg for crumbs. And that energy, it's irresistible. It attracts everything that is yours by divine right. Think of someone you know who is naturally magnetic. That person who doesn't chase anyone, doesn't beg for attention, who simply exists in their own energy, and everyone wants to be near them. Do you know why? Because they're not attached. They don't need external validation to feel complete, and people sense that. Their energy says, I'm good with myself, with or without you. And that is extremely attractive, not just to people, but to opportunities, to money, to everything. Because the universe responds to vibration, not desperation. When you cling, your energy screams, lack. But when you detach, your energy whispers, abundance. And abundance attracts abundance, always. I learned this the hard way. I spent years trying to force things, forcing friendships that had already ended, forcing relationships that weren't mine, forcing opportunities that weren't aligned. And you know what I got? Frustration, exhaustion, and more scarcity. Until one day, I simply let go. Not because I gave up, but because I finally understood that holding on so tightly was keeping me from receiving the new. And when I let go, when I truly detached and said, what is mine will come to me, everything changed. Opportunities started appearing out of nowhere. The right people entered my life without me looking for them. Money began flowing more easily, and I finally understood. Attachment was the blockage. Detachment was the key. And listen, detachment doesn't mean you don't care. It doesn't mean you become cold and emotionless. It means you stop placing your peace, your self-worth, and your value in the hands of external things. You stop saying, I'll only be happy when I have X, or I'll only feel complete if Y happens. You choose to be whole now. You choose peace now. And from that vibration of completeness, you manifest. Not from lack, but from fullness. And then manifestation is no longer a struggle. It becomes a natural flow. Because you're no longer trying to fill a void. You're simply expanding what already exists within you. And that changes everything. So if you're still holding on to someone who left, to something that ended, to an old version of your life, let go. Truly let go. Not with anger, not with resentment, but with gratitude for what was, and faith in what's coming. Thank those people for the role they played, but recognize that their role is over. And when you do that, when you truly release, you'll feel something shift inside you. You'll feel lighter, more powerful, freer. And it's in this state that wealth finds you, because now you're not blocking the flow. You are the flow. And what comes next is the crowning of everything. After the universe removes the old, something magical happens. You are reborn. And I'm not talking about a superficial change, a new haircut, or a new routine. I'm talking about a transformation so deep you barely recognize who you were before. Your vibration is clean, your energetic field is open, and for the first time in your life, you are truly aligned with the flow of prosperity that has always been yours by divine right. Everything that held you back has been released. Everything that diminished you has been removed. And now you're standing in an empty, yet powerful space, ready to receive everything you manifested, everything you declared, everything you always knew deep down was possible. This is the moment of rebirth, and it is glorious. But here's what you need to understand. This rebirth doesn't come with an instruction manual. You're not going to wake up one day and get an email from the universe saying, "Congratulations, you passed the test, here's your reward." It doesn't work like that. Rebirth is silent. It happens internally first. You'll notice you don't react to things the same way anymore. Situations that used to throw you off now barely touch you. People who once had power over you simply don't anymore. You'll look in the mirror and recognize a strength in your eyes that wasn't there before. That is rebirth. It is you finally embodying the version of yourself that always existed in potential, but needed this whole process to come to life. And here's the beautiful part. When you are reborn, everything around you begins to reflect that change. Suddenly, the opportunities you used to beg for start appearing effortlessly. The right people enter your life as if delivered by divine appointment. Money begins to flow in unexpected ways, not because you're working harder, but because you're vibrating differently. Your energy no longer says, "Please choose me." It says, "I choose myself." And that is the frequency of wealth. That is the vibration that attracts everything that is truly yours. Because now you're not asking, you're claiming. You're not waiting, you're consciously creating. I want you to understand something. Everything you went through, every person who left, every door that closed, every tear you cried alone, was not in vain. It was part of a divine design to bring you right here, to this moment of clarity, power, and total rebirth. And now that you're here, your only responsibility is to honor this process. Do not go back. Do not fall into the temptation of revisiting the past, reopening doors the universe closed, or doubting what you know to be true in the depths of your soul. You are reborn, and the reborn version of you no longer fits in old spaces. She needs new territory, and she will create that territory with every conscious decision you make from this point forward. So take a deep breath and acknowledge this. You are no longer who you were. You walked through the fire and came out gold. You crossed the dark night of the soul and emerged with your own light. And now, all that's left is to receive. Receive with gratitude, with awareness, with unshakable faith that this is only the beginning. Because when you finally align with your true essence, with your vibration of prosperity, with your destiny of abundance, the universe has no choice but to deliver everything that was always yours, not as a favor, but as recognition. You did the inner work. You cleared the field. You were reborn. And now, the life you always dreamed of is waiting for you on the other side of the door you're about to open. So here we are. You just uncovered a truth that few people ever see. Separation is not rejection. It's divine redirection. Every person who left, every door that closed, every moment of loneliness you went through, was part of a bigger plan preparing you for the abundance you always deserved. And now that you know this, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you keep resisting the process, crying over losses, and blocking your own blessing? Or will you finally trust, release the old, and open your arms to receive the new? Because the choice has always been yours. The universe already did its part. Now it's your turn to cooperate. I want you to pause right now and ask yourself, where in my life am I still clinging to what's already gone? Where am I still feeding energetic ties with people who are no longer part of my destiny? Where am I allowing the fear of loneliness to stop me from stepping into my own greatness? These questions are uncomfortable, I know, but they are necessary, because until you face these truths head-on, you'll keep walking in circles. You'll keep manifesting halfway, living halfway, accepting crumbs when you could be receiving the full feast. And you weren't born for crumbs. You were born for full prosperity, for true wealth, for a life that makes you wake up every day in deep gratitude. Now I want you to do something with me. Close your eyes for a moment and visualize the version of yourself who has already crossed this entire process. The version who is on the other side of this cleansing. This woman is radiant, centered, powerful. She no longer needs anyone's validation because she validated herself. She's no longer chasing anything because she understands that everything that is hers comes to her. She is vibrating pure abundance, attracting opportunities, aligned people, and effortless prosperity. That woman is you, not in some distant future, now, because she already exists within you. She was only waiting for you to clear the path so she could emerge. And you've just done that by understanding everything I shared here. What comes next is simple. Application. Take these teachings and start living by them. Every time you feel tempted to cling to the past, remember the law of substitution. Every time loneliness tightens its grip, remember it's a spiritual upgrade. Every time nothing makes sense, remember it's the test of faith. And every time you feel like giving up, come back here and watch this again. Because these truths must be absorbed deeply, repeated constantly, until they become part of your consciousness. And once they do, you'll realize your entire life has changed. Not because the universe finally decided to bless you, but because you finally became compatible with the blessing that was always available. So if this video touched you, if you felt like it was made exactly for this moment in your life, I invite you to be part of this community of women who are rediscovering their power, reprogramming their minds, and manifesting real prosperity. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep learning about the law of attraction, mental reprogramming, and practical spirituality. Because this is just the tip of the iceberg. There is much more wisdom, much more truth, much more transformation waiting for you here. And I'll be here every week, guiding you on this journey back home, back to yourself, to your essence, to your destiny of abundance. I'll see you in the next video. And remember, the best is yet to come. It always has been.